What's going on, guys? This is Ryan from RK Outpost, and today I'm going to explain to you why I joined the Fandom Menace. So to really explain where I'm coming from with the Fandom Menace, I kind of have to go back to where I came from as a Star Wars fan. When I was a child, we had the first three original trilogy movies on VHS, and I watched them. They don't particularly stand out to me because I was a little too young probably to appreciate them. But in 1999, when the Phantom Menace came out, I went, and I vividly remember going. I vividly remember pod racing and lightsaber duels. And it was probably the first movie that I can actually remember seeing in the theater, and it's in my brain, my experience I had when I was there. And although I understand now that the Phantom Menace was not a perfect movie or a great movie, but it was a movie that stands out in my mind and holds a place deep in my heart, and I'll always have love for that movie, even understanding its flaws. But after I saw that movie, I wanted to know more about Star Wars, because you only get it in these about 2-hour increments. So I wanted to know more about this universe. So anything that said Star Wars on it, Legos, toys, whatever, I wanted. And my mom, luckily, bought for me these young adult, kid books from a series called Jedi Apprentice. And I burned through them as fast as I could, as fast as she could find them. And one time when I was at my uncle's house, he said, "Star Wars books, huh? I've got some of those here." And he goes to his bookcase and he pulls out this book called Heir to the Empire. And if there's any expanded universe, now called Legends, fans watching, what Heir to the Empire is. And that launched me into the expanded universe. And that, to me, is what Star Wars was. From the time that I got my hands on those books until 2014, when Disney said, "It doesn't exist anymore. You can have your books, but we don't care about them." So let me show you what I mean by that was Star Wars to me. God, it's pretty crazy. I haven't gotten these books out for a couple years. They've actually been packed away since I moved across the country. And it's been tough to get them out, honestly. I used to love having these displayed in the house. Go through and reread them all the time, especially newer series, because you always, I don't know if anyone else has ever had this feeling, but I feel like no matter how many times I reread a book, I always stop and I'm caught by something I didn't recognize that first time, or the second time, or the third time, and I'm like, how did I not realize this before? But yeah, haven't read these in a while. Don't worry, there's more. Not quite done yet. And what I mean that I, kind of fell in love with Star Wars with these books, it's not to say that all of these books are great. There's some that are definitely are. Um, there's some that definitely are great works of fiction. Almost anything by Timothy Zahn is really good. James Luceno is a great author. A lot of Kevin J. Anderson stuff is really good. Um, there's a lot of books here, guys. Not all of them are perfect, but they are all Star Wars. And I'll kind of explain what I mean about that once I get them all out. Holy cow. One more. God, look at this book, Kenobi. It's a great one. I think that this is it. Here's the last one I pulled out. I don't know if you guys can read that too well, but it's by our buddy Pablo Hidalgo. So everyone has love for Pablo, I'm sure. This is written in 2012. This is the Essential Reader's Companion Guide, maybe a little before he was quite so hated. All right, so clean up the boxes because I didn't want the clutter in here. Yeah, there we go. That's everything. I don't know if you guys can tell, if you could see when I unbox all of them, but I mean this thing goes 2 or 3 rows deep in a couple places. Yeah, so oh man, I'm shaking the camera. So when I say that Star Wars isn't just movies to me, this is what I mean. Do I thoroughly enjoy the movies? Yeah. I've grown to absolutely love the OT, the original trilogy, and I do enjoy watching the prequel trilogy too, specifically Revenge of the Sith. That's probably the one of those movies that as I watch it every time, I truly enjoy it every time. The other ones, like I said, it's more kind of nostalgia based, because I remember actually going to see them and everything, and Attack of the Clones has some cool lightsaber stuff. That's about all you can say about that movie. Yeah, but you get 2 hours worth of a movie with nearly every one of these books. You're getting 8-10 hours of a Star Wars experience. And I don't even have all my comic books that I have out here. I mean, I have books going from 25,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, so before Episode 4, A New Hope, and comics going all the way up to 140 years after that. You've literally got, 25 millennia worth of stories. And what was really unique about the expanded universe was, Lucasfilm had an entire team dedicated to maintaining continuity. With all these books, you obviously have different authors writing them in different time periods, in different actual times, and those guys put in a lot of work. People like Pablo Hidalgo, people like Leland Chee, Sue Rostini, all these people worked really hard to make sure that when they came out and put out books that they all made sense in the timeline. And you can imagine for something you have hundreds of stories in, how tough that could be. But they did a really great job of it and produced some awesome stories. So when I learned in 2012, go ahead and pop that up. So in 2012, when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Disney buys Lucasfilm. You heard kind of rumors, but who was really expecting it? Disney buys Lucasfilm for $4 billion in October of 2012. I was absolutely thrilled. And the reason I was thrilled is because I thought I was going to get a continuation of Star Wars, of the Star Wars that I knew and the Star Wars that I fell in love with, the Star Wars that's all the stuff you see sitting behind me, as well as the Clone Wars and the 6 movies. So I was really excited. Thought Disney is going to make movies. Disney wants to make money, so of course they're going to make movies. We're going to get so much Star Wars. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to get to see some of these characters that I had read about and see what the future held for them in their timeline. But, sadly, I think we all understand that didn't quite come to pass. And, a couple years went by, and then, we had right here. Star Wars just nuked its entire expanded universe. This may sound like a pretty brutal decision, but it was unavoidable. Yeah. Unavoidable, evidently, because, they came out and said, we just feel too boxed in. We feel like we need our own creative freedoms. Can you imagine them saying that they need their own creative freedoms and liberty to do what they want, and then making The Force Awakens just this knockoff version of the original trilogy with a bunch of expanded universe lore and characters and stories brought in, mashed up, and thrown in there? That's what they wanted creative freedoms for? It's bullshit. But I guess we're not to that point yet. But so they said expanded universe is done. And it was tough. I was, not to say like heartbroken or anything like that. That's a little lame. But I was pissed off. I was irritated. That's what I had poured thousands of dollars and thousands of hours, maybe even more importantly than that, of time into this product. And it's not like they're like, well, we'll at least continue the Legends storyline. We're just going to have an official canon. Like, that'd be too confusing for the sheep that want to consume our product. Like, heaven forbid that any other franchise in history has, more than one timeline, like comic books or anything else like that. That'd be too confusing. Never been done before. Yeah, okay. So time went on. Force Awakens was announced. There was a huge buzz about it because, in a way, it was a lot like the Phantom Menace. Star Wars had been gone a while, and there was a lot of buzz and a lot of hype about it. And even though I was pissed off, and I was pretty biased, and honestly, I went in there not wanting to like the movie. I could admit that it would have been really tough for me to like the movie because of what I knew I was missing. But I wanted to give it a try. I went in and came out more pissed off than when I entered. And it wasn't, it's not like it was a poorly made movie or anything like that. If you took someone from an alternate reality and put him here, put him in a movie theater, had him watch that movie, they probably think, oh, pretty good movie, exciting, looks really good, score was good, all that stuff. But it doesn't work like that. We've seen 6 Star Wars movies before that. We've seen the Clone Wars. A lot of us have read the other material. It wasn't like that for me. I hated it. I hated how it was just a New Hope. A New Hope redone by J.J. Abrams. taking little names and parts of lore and things like that and just tweaking it a little bit from the expanded universe, it was just even worse. Like, if you're going to use that stuff, then why'd you get rid of it? You know, that doesn't make any sense to me. But that's what it was. And so after that, I kind of made my peace and said, all right, if this is what Star Wars is, I'm done. So, you know, like I said, when I moved across the country, I packed these things up, and other than opening the boxes to make sure they were the right boxes, this is the first time I've unpacked these books in years. And another really frustrating thing about this whole process was, you know, between the time it was announced that Expanded Universe wasn't going to be used anymore and when they released Force Awakens, there were a lot of people like me that were Expanded Universe fans. You know, we had our own Facebook groups and things like that where we talked about Expanded Universe lore and, you know, had debates, you know, who would win, you know, Luke Skywalker or this Sith Lord in their prime or things like that. It was really a fun little community to be a part of. And so when we found out the EU was going to be abolished, you know, a lot of us were like, no, they need to make the movies, right? But realized that was unrealistic. So we were like, at least continue the stories that we've been looking for. We have so many unresolved things. People, families, galactic events, things like that we want to see finished. They just keep making us content, please. The answer was no. And you saw the same type of articles that we're seeing now a couple years ago, you know, about, oh, these toxic fans that are demanding the expanded universe. You know, they're piling on social media and they're brigading posts and things like that. It's the same playbook that we see now from these people. When Chuck Wendig came out with his book Aftermath, and it got absolutely torn apart on reviews and on Amazon and things like that. Of course, it was a troll campaign from the Give Us Legends crowd. And despite the fact that this so-called man, this soy boy, literally wrote, he's an author, and he wrote in a book, the tie went wibbly wobbly. That's how he described the TIE fighter's flight. Wibbly wobbly. But Chuck Wendig's a different story. He's old news. He's done. Forget about him. But it's the same kind of things that we're going through now. And I was done after Force Awakens. I'm like, yeah, it's nothing. So I was out of it until The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi came out, and I don't know if you've heard, but there was a pretty significant fan reaction to it. And I was interested. I wasn't going to go see the movie. That was for damn sure. I wasn't going to go see that. I was going to go pay Disney any more money to see Star Wars. Ever. So I started looking around online. So, you know, The Last Jedi reviews. And I stumbled upon this.
So I almost got into a fight at the end of this movie. Not just like a war of words, but like an actual physical fight. And that was pretty much the tone of my night. So you don't want to hear about my fight with some douchebag in the theater over PETA. You want to hear about this fucking movie we watched called Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back Again, or The Last Jedi, Return of the Jedi Part 2, whatever you want to call this film. But you can't call it original. What you can call it is a reverse of The Empire Strikes Back and a forward progression of Return of the Jedi. They met in the middle, and then they just fucking degenerated into garbage. So that's as spoiler-free as you're going to get. For some reason, if you listen to this channel and you don't listen to our spoiler shit, okay, whatever. But that's it. I didn't like it. Did anybody here really love it?
No.
The word to describe this film is boring.
No, I hated it.
Yeah, so the best word to describe this film is boring. And stupid. So there you go. Now let's get into the real review. So thanks for watching. If that's all you can handle, go see the movie and be disappointed for yourself. So here we are. This is the official review. God damn it. That's all I can say is God damn it. This fucking movie was way too long. It was poorly paced. It had some of the dumbest moments in Star Wars history. When Princess Leia flew back into that fucking shit.
Dude, what the fuck was that shit?
So yeah, World Class Bullshitters review. Jeff, Dion, Kendo, Nick, the guys over at World Class are the ones responsible for getting me in. And I was hooked. You know, they led me to Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, Ethan, Comic Artist Pro Secrets, who then led me to all the different people, Jesse Milestone, Anna, that Star Wars girl, Nerdrotic, Doomcock, led me to Mauler. And I don't know if anybody else has had this kind of experience, but for me, once I started diving hard into some of these people's YouTube videos, and you kind of get hooked. And I've been hooked. What they were saying made sense. It's what I'd been upset about for so long after I first saw Force Awakens, was that Disney had just treated the fans like trash, and that seemed to be what they did with Last Jedi. This isn't going to be a movie complaining about Last Jedi. I did see it once it went on Netflix. It was obviously garbage. But that's not what this video is. Because I was already disgruntled. I had already been essentially a member of the Fandom Menace before there was one. And I had been away because I just didn't care about Star Wars anymore. But once I saw this reaction, all the other people that, you know, even though they may not have been into the books or whatever, they still felt like this wasn't Star Wars to them. And then Solo came out and it was just a flop. And obviously the Phantom Menace is more now. It's not just about Star Wars anymore. It's about all the pop culture that's being invaded by, one, either these weirdos that want to put their politics in everything, or two, people that don't care about making a good product and just want you to consume. You know, no matter if it's an original story, a good story, whatever. That's what the Phantom Menace is about now. And recently, after San Diego Comic-Con, I went to a meetup with some Phantom Menace members, and there were Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers and Gary from Nerdrotic, and I had an awesome time talking to those guys. And instead of the you know, we kind of usually channel our emotions about this stuff and like anger, we're pissed off about it. And obviously everybody has fun and laughs together on live streams and things like that, but to be a part of that community and that group of people, it was really fun. I hadn't enjoyed talking about Star Wars like that to other people in a really long time. And I had a couple people come up to me and say, "Hey, do you have a YouTube channel?" I was like, "No, I don't know about that. I don't know if anybody would want to hear what I had to say." But I got inspired by those guys I met there, specifically Jeremy and Gary, to go ahead and go for it, create one. And whether anybody watches it or whether it's just me being able to get my frustrations and opinions out there, I'm glad I'm doing it. So this is my first real video, and it's why I joined the Phantom Menace. So there it is. If you feel like you want to share about it, feel free to leave a comment. Tell me about your experience. I'd love to talk to some more people about the expanded universe that I miss so dearly. And I tell you what, getting these books back out and thinking about some of the stories just made me smile, because I love them so much. So I think I'm going to keep these out for a while and read them some more. So definitely subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be making more content, not just Star Wars, but pop culture and even some sports. I know that not those things don't necessarily cross over, but subscribe, leave a like if you would. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Anything I can do better, anything you want to see from this new channel, let me know.